invite us to consider the last time we kind of experienced hospitality that was over the top, that we remember, that really left a mark on us. Like, wow, when was that for you in your life? And maybe it's been a while, right? We haven't been able to go out to nice places possibly, or go over to a friend's house for dinner, or to do all the things that we used to. Hospitality is such an important thing. In fact, there's an entire industry of hospitality, right? Restaurants and hotels and all those kind of things. And when I was thinking about my own experience of hospitality, I was kind of recalled an experience I had. I don't do this very often, so don't label me, okay? But I went to the Ritz-Carlton. Wow, okay, fancy, right? Okay. And we went to the spa at the Ritz-Carlton, okay? And I remember the time we drove up, right? We drive into the driveway. All of a sudden, they open your car door, right? And they find out what your name is right then, right? So why do they do that? So they can keep calling you by your name, right? And it's not just your first name, it's like Mr. Donovan, right? Little do they know we were priests, right? And but then that continues on, and you have a reservation. They know exactly who you are when you walk in because they looked at the time you were arriving. And all of this kind of accumulates to an experience that you feel valued. An experience that you go in there and say, wow, that was really wonderful. And most importantly, it was an experience that makes you say what? I want to do that again, right? I want to go back. I want to do that again. And for anybody in the hospitality industry, that's the biggest compliment, right? I want to go back there again because of the way that you made me feel. Now, see, the Ritz-Carlton does this for my money, right? That's why they did all that hospitality. That's why they went out of their way to make sure they knew what my name was and when I was going to arrive and all of those kind of things. But see, Christians do hospitality for a different reason. We don't do it for people's money, even though sometimes people think that we do that, right? But we do it for people's hearts. What hospitality does is it opens up our hearts to a relationship. It opens up our hearts to a possibility that we have a God who sees us and who wants us to be here. But the way that we first experience that hospitality of God is by the way that we treat each other, right? I wonder, by a raise of hands, how many of you, the first thought that came to your mind when I asked you what the most profound experience of hospitality was, thought of St. Edward's Church? Nobody? Oh my gosh, we got some work to do, right, Laura? I know. You know what makes hospitality hard right now? The masks, right? I could be smiling. You have no idea I'm smiling, right? It looks like I'm like glaring at you or something like this, you know? But hospitality looks at someone in a different way. Hospitality recognizes people and says, we're happy you're here. You belong here. You're a part of this community. And when we have hospitality in our homes or in our communities, people want to come back again because they want to come feel that same presence of what it means to belong to a community of people. We all know the feeling of inhospitable places as well, don't we? Have you ever been to Costco in the last 4 months? That's inhospitable, right? You know, I went there one time and I felt like people were like cutting each other off with the carts and they were glaring at each other over their shoulders. It was a really rough experience. And I left thinking, man, I don't want to come back here until this is over, you know? Probably the last thing that Costco wanted me to think in their store. But I think what makes it hard right now is that the way that we approach hospitality as Christians is that we have one principle that we follow. And the Benedictines, I think, get it right. They have this principle that says, receive every visitor as if they were Christ. Receive everyone as if they were Christ. And that changes how we approach one another, right? One of the issues now, I think one of the challenges is that we look at each other because we all have masks on and are 6 feet apart. Do we look at each other as Christ, or we look at each other as potential contamination, right? We look at each other as like threats. We look at each other as people who could potentially, you know, ruin our lives or the lives of our families and such. And typically we don't welcome that very fondly, huh? But Christ is the one who always sees himself within us. Christ is the one who says, you can be unfaithful, he says, but I remain faithful because I cannot deny myself. It says that in Timothy. Christ sees himself in us and always welcomes us back because of that. And he inspires us and he challenges us to try to do that for one another, to try to look at each other as if we were seeing Christ, as if we were welcoming Christ. And maybe the challenge for us as Catholics is to be a little bit more welcoming. And I'm going to give you little tips how to be welcoming from 6 feet away. Just looking at each other. Maybe if we have our masks off, we can smile. We can say hello, or maybe we can wave. Or maybe we can send that text message to somebody we haven't seen in a long time at church possibly. And to tell them they matter, that we miss you. We miss seeing you and that you belong here. To reach out and to ask how we can be of assistance to them as Christ to us, I was reflecting this week on, a lot that's going on in the world, and one of the things was this whole idea of going around and taking down white Jesus statues, right? Or destroying white Jesus pictures and things. But I don't know if you know this. We have a profound tradition of statues and icons and things like that in the Catholic tradition. And every single country you go to, you will find Jesus in every skin color that was ever created and will be ever around. In every race and every tongue. You go to Korea, you see a Korean Jesus. Just go to Father Tony's office, right? You'll find Korean Jesus in there. And Korean Mary as well. You see every race of Christ out there. Why is that? If we just had one, what would we think that Christ looked like? One, huh? But Christ looks like all of the different people, right? Because Christ is within all of us. And I think that has to become the basis for our own approach to hospitality and our own approach to seeing in people the dignity that is there. Seeing in people that they aren't just belonging to Christ, but that Christ is in there because of their creation in his image and likeness. So let's pray today for the grace of truth. Let's pray for the grace that God would give us eyes to see him and eyes to see through all of the fog that may be around us today.